Hello, I am Jennifer Lynn Purcell, aka Ever-Changing Butterfly, bringing to you Living with an Invisible Learning Challenge, where we will discuss the challenges and triumphs of those with NLD. I don't know if you're a new listener or not, but I would like to share with you where I get most of my articles for this podcast. I've recently learned about a nonprofit that I would really like to help. It's the NVLD Project. In addition to doing research on NVLD and working to get it back on the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, that is the DSM, they provide support groups for those with NVLD. You can find the NVLD Project at www.nvld.org. All proceeds from this podcast and the ads will go towards the NVLD Project. I will include the link for this in the description of the podcast. Please go to livingwithnld.com to learn more about my podcast. Also, I would like to announce that I now have created a YouTube channel for this podcast. I will post the link for this in the description for you. I want to thank the NVLD Project for the care package that they sent to me. If you want to see pictures of what is in the care package, go to Living with NLD on Facebook or Instagram. I put pictures on there, and they sent me 2 t-shirts and 4 pens and a notepad and a thank you card. And they did this because they wanted to thank me for all the hard work that I'm doing on these podcasts, and also for being an advocate for NVLD and for being an important part of their community. And I wanted to thank them for sending me the care package. And thank you for the people who donated so far to my fundraiser for the NVLD project. That was another reason that they sent me the care package. The amount that we are at is $365 now, and the goal is 1,000, and I believe we will get there by the end of April. The whole month of April is mental health awareness. I started the fundraiser early because I thought that might help jumpstart the goal, and also just help people start thinking about mental health awareness. And I think that's a very important thing to think about, even if you don't have a learning disability or learning challenge, as I like to call it. And that, it's probably on your mind more often than it is if you have it or if you know somebody who has one. So thank you for the people who have donated to the fundraiser, and I believe we will reach the goal. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy the episode today. I want to let you know that the next small Zoom group for people with NLD and for their parents is on April 27th, and it will be at 10 a.m. Pacific time zone, and it will go till 11:30 so that people who are on the Pacific time zone can have time to grab lunch. And also, the NVLD project is helping me spread word about this. So if you know them, you can email them for the link, or you can email me at livingwithnld@gmail.com for the Zoom link. Thank you. Bye. Okay. Hello, I'm Ever-Changing Butterfly, also Jennifer Purcell. And today here with me is Geoff, who tutored me when I was in high school with math. And I'm going to be interviewing him and asking him some questions about the time that we were in high school and when he was tutoring me. And so the first question is, how do you know me?
Well, once upon a time, I used to tutor you in math, and I believe I was there for the very tail end of geometry, and then into Algebra 2 and Pre-Calc. And then, if I remember correctly, I was the one who figured out that you didn't actually have to take statistics. So you could get out of that. I remember math wasn't exactly your favorite subject. So
Yes, you are correct with that. And I answered the question. The second question was how long it was with all of high school, and it 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 was pretty much all of the math subjects, and it was you're right. It was geometry, pre-calc, and algebra, and I didn't do statistics because of realizing that I didn't need that fourth year of math. And looking back now, maybe I should have done that fourth year of math because I had to do statistics for sociology in college, but I didn't know I was going to need to do that. So, you know,
to be fair, you would have had to do it anyway because you weren't taking AP stats. So
right. I wasn't doing AP stats, and my other choice was AP calculus, and I was like, that would be a big jump from pre-calculus.
yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. So I think I made the best choice that was for me then. And then the other question was, what was your strategy when helping me with the really difficult things in math?
Okay, so this one gets a little bit complex because it's not actually. I mean, every subject is different, but for math in particular, I have three not entirely distinct stages that I usually take someone through. So there's instruction, which is exactly what it sounds like. There's flailing, which I will explain in a moment, and then there's practice, which is doing the homework and just cementing the technique. So like I said, instruction's the obvious one. I explain what you're looking at, and because until I explain that, it may as well be just meaningless squiggles. But I believe that was mostly covered by your online lessons, which left me with the flailing stage. And flailing is my rather overstated name for the process where you make a first attempt at using a technique or solving some problem or tackling some new concept. You're going to have questions. You're not going to know where to start. And so my job is actually most important at this step because the trick is not to explicitly answer your questions, but to come up with questions that lead you to the answers. And of course, mixed up in this step might be additional instruction because if it's clear that you don't know a concept at all, it's re-explanation time because asking you questions won't lead you to the answer if you don't have it. But in that re-explanation, not using the same language as before, because if you didn't get it the first time, then saying the same thing again isn't going to help you get it the second time. And that's where, jumping ahead a little bit, I think that's where some teachers and tutors and professors fail students with learning disorders because they have this way that they explain it and they'll just keep trying that. Not all of them, but plenty of them do. And the key is to find new ways to explain it. And then once you clearly have at least some understanding of the concept, leading you to answers to your own questions with questions of my own. And then of course there's the practice, which is just trying it out, which might lead to more flailing. So
Yeah, I think you did a good job explaining there the different strategies that you use. And I remember you were very good at describing different things I needed to do, especially I think it was the word problems where trying to figure out all the different things that I needed to use and things that I did not need to use in the word problems because I know those were tricky for me.
yeah. Yeah, definitely. Word problems. Word problems are the bane of every student's existence, but it certainly can't help to have an LD. So
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I didn't know I had it in high school, even though I thought there was something because I was like comparing myself to my Jonathan, my older brother, and thinking, you know, there's things that come more naturally to him, and I didn't know why, and now I do, or I have
Fair
since
enough.
college. So I that's one of the main reasons I did the testing. Um, so I think we were kind of getting at this next question, but with the shortcuts that you might have remember teaching me.
Oh, yeah. I have no idea. The details escape me, but mostly it was just the classic stuff that you'd learn in any math course of the same level. But the important part is not about the tricks or the shortcuts. It's about nurturing that learning process and having an understanding for what kinds of mental connections each student will make. So
Mm-hmm.
if you have the time to really get to know the student and how they make connections, like we did with 3-ish 4-ish years of math tutoring, then you can start to get an understanding of, like, okay, what kinds of explanations work. So the shortcuts were really more in my process than the ones that I taught you.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think we did have a good amount of time because I think geometry might have actually been middle school, but we were able to have enough time together to know each other and be able to um, help each other, or you were helping me with realizing how I was thinking and um, knowing how to help me when I was stuck on something. um, and I don't know if these were shortcuts that you taught me, but I know for me, um, like with addition, I would try to like group simple numbers together to add them, and that helped.
Yeah, now that you remind me, I think this was around the point in my life where I discovered Arthur Benjamin's book. I'm trying to remember exactly what it's called, but it's something like The Secret to Mental Math. And so I was trying to incorporate some of these mental math shortcuts into what I taught you, and how to do these these more complex things. But yeah,
Yeah,
that as far as shortcuts.
yeah. I mean, I remember I used the calculator that my online school gave me, and that was really helpful too because I I could remember when to use the formulas, but not memorize all of the symbols. So
Mm-hmm.
that was also one of the issues. And when I was taking statistics in college, one of the accommodations I got at Miramar College was writing down all the formulas on the index card, so I didn't have to memorize all the symbols.
Yeah, yeah. I'm probably going to irritate some statisticians here, but I actually don't consider statistics to be math. I consider it to be in a no man's land on its own, somewhere between math and science.
Yeah,
It uses math, but it isn't math.
I would agree with you. It is an field on its own.
Uh, Not quite math, not quite science, but
Yeah, but it was required for me to declare sociology, so I had to take it and pass it.
yep. Yeah, I ended up having to take that my first year of college as well. So
Oh, that makes sense. Do you think you used any shortcuts to help me that you might have learned in school yourself?
Um, beyond the actual subject material, like stuff like SOHCAHTOA for trigonometry, which every single student will have ever learned. I don't think so. Not really. Beyond like the actual core material. I had large enough classes in school that we didn't do a lot of one-on-one instruction, and the instructional techniques that I've developed over the years, actually, a lot of it since tutoring you, I've refined. But most of that I learned from people like my parents or other key adults in my life. But like I said, the shortcuts that you might get taught for any one subject aren't necessarily the answer to how does someone learn. It's about effective communication.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Um, and I would agree with you. Most of the shortcuts I know are from teachers or from my parents that I learned for math. So, it's from different people that you get them from. So that makes sense. Um, I was just curious if you had like a memory that you might have when I really got something that you were trying to help me with.
You know, I have to confess, it's been a little too long for me to
Yeah,
have
it
any
has.
one individual memory that sticks out to me, but I am an addict, and my drug is exactly that moment, watching someone finally click with a topic that they were struggling with. I mean, it's half the reason that I want to be a professor at some point. But yes, we definitely had many a moment like that. None of them stick out to me as individual moments, but we definitely had those.
Yeah, I know we did. And, I can't remember a specific moment either because it was a long time ago also. So that's okay. But I'm sure there was many moments where you helped me get something that was like click light bulb.
Yeah.
um, and do you think for me it was different helping me than something like your mom or somebody else who doesn't have NLD?
So this answer is probably going to surprise you, but no, I wouldn't say that there is a qualitative difference here. Uh, so I've actually had over the last year or so a lot of practice helping to learn or helping people to learn how to code. So essentially being a tutor in Python coding. And I'd say that it's functionally equivalent. It takes a little bit more time the more someone struggles with learning, but there are people from all different levels of skill or quickness of learning that have the same questions, and a lot of people struggle with the same points. So it's not about finding new techniques. It's that people with NLD, you have to take a little bit more time, and you may have to dive a little bit deeper, and you may have to come up with a couple of different explanations. But once you've done that once or twice, once you've explained it in several ways before, you don't have to come up with that new explanation the next time. So it gets easier as you teach more people. So I guess I'd sum up by saying it's a difference in amount, not a difference in kind.
I would agree with you because you're right. It does usually take longer for people with NLD to learn something like math because of that slower mental calculating speed that they have. And I know for me that was true. And um, I think it got faster as I got more used to calculating different things in my brain and also doing them on paper and just checking them on the calculator and knowing that I did it correctly. So yeah, I think you're right with that answer. And um, this is kind of similar to the question that I just asked you, but do you think you would have done anything differently knowing that I have NLD now than you did then?
There are absolutely things that I would have done differently if I was the person then that I am now, because I've gotten a lot more practice helping people with everything from math to coding to different kinds of science to even history a few times. But in terms of NLD versus not NLD, no, not really. I mean, it's like I said in the previous answer, it's more a difference in how much time and how much effort you have to put into the instruction and flailing steps. It's not really a difference in kind.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think you did the best you could with knowing what you knew then. And same with me, being the student. I didn't know what I had. I just had a hunch that I was different from people in my family, and that we were you were helping me out, and I think I know you were one of the best math tutors I had, so
Well, thank you.
you're welcome. And I mean, that was that was the reason my parents got me tutors. I know it got to the point where they couldn't help me with stuff, and because I was learning it differently than they learned it, or I was learning new things that they hadn't learned. And they were like, "We can't help you anymore, Jennifer. Sorry, but we'll find people to help you." So I'm glad that they did, because it led me to create friendships with people that was really great,
Oh,
and find really good tutors that helped me pass classes in high school, and also I think really helped me pass the math classes I had in college. And because I was able to keep all the things I learned, even even though I didn't have you there physically in college. I'm sure I remembered everything you taught me, and I had math tutors up there that I used at Berkeley, and they were good too. So um, just different styles. Um, so because I used the tutoring center up there, and that was that was helpful in its own right with Berkeley. Um, so there were I don't know if there were any other questions you came up with for the episode.
no, no, there weren't. Unfortunately, I didn't really have much to add there. So,
That's okay. I was just gonna ask that bit, but I will end the recording, because that was
oh,
the last bit there.
oh,
Or
did we get to the? I don't think last question.
no, you're right. There was one more. It
Yeah.
was what would you want to say to someone who is a teacher uh, has who has a person who has NLD or something similar to NLD?
Uh, one word: patience. There is there is nothing that will shut a student down more. I don't care if it's NLD or just someone who's having a hard day. There is nothing that will shut a student down more than having a teacher who is impatient and makes the student feel like they should feel bad for asking questions. It's hard. Uh, I mean, you'll feel your patience fraying internally, but you can't let that have an external manifestation. You can't show the impatience. You can't show the frustration. Be kind, because you can't learn if you're terrified, or if you feel like you shouldn't be there, or if you feel like the person doesn't want you to be there.
Yeah, I would agree with you with that. It is good for you to be patient and kind, because it's like you were saying, if if you are if the student is stuck on something and they're trying to ask questions, and you're coming back at them with an impatient attitude or tone in your voice, then it's like, you're not helping me. um, and so I can remember you were very patient and very kind and helpful with your tutoring, and I think that was very helpful, because it did take longer for me to get things, and I I'm sure there were many times where you had to keep circling back on something to make sure that I got it.
Oh, absolutely. And we did have some moments where, you'd have a moment of clarity of that, oh, I got it moment. And then, I'd come in the next day or 2 days later and sorry, I can't remember what we like. I can't remember how we fixed this, and I don't know what I'm doing anymore. And it's like, oh,
Yeah.
all right, well, let's do this again. That kind of thing. So, and the other thing that I would say is important is when the student does finally grasp a concept, reaffirm for them that, hey, look, you did it, you got it. You're good at this. You can get this. You can do it. Because most of my experience over the last year or two has been helping people learn to code. But one of the things that I have found is an absolute truth is people's ability to learn to code is directly correlated with how much they believe they will be able to learn to code.
Yeah, I agree with you. You have to believe that you can do it, and if you don't, then it's going to make that much harder.
And it's the teacher's job to foster and grow that sense of, yes, I can do this.
Yes.
So
Yeah. Well, thank you for letting me ask questions about this. This was really helpful.
yeah,
And I think that students who are still doing math, or teachers who are mathematicians or helping students with math, will find this as a resource.
great.
As I wrap up, there are some things I would like to share with you. I do have a website for this podcast. It is called livingwithnld.com. I also have a Facebook and Instagram page for this podcast. It is called Living with NLD. I will include the links for those in the description. In conclusion, I would like to hear from my audience. If you know individuals with NLD that I could interview for this podcast, please email me at livingwithnld@gmail.com. What are you interested in learning about NLD? I know I'm not an expert, but I do know I have the living experience of having it. I would like you to practice journaling about your gifts and differences. Also, see if there is a way that you can make that difference become easier for you to do than it originally was. Thank you for listening today, and please go to my YouTube channel and subscribe to it. Thank you. Bye.